Hey there, and welcome to this edition of the Create With podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about building software using AI and visual development. It's James here, and I'm here with Kieran.
Hello, everyone. Good to be back.
Good to be back in our kind of more usual routine now that the conference is kind of winding down. This is going to be a bit more of a normal episode where we're going to go through a ton of the latest news in visual development and AI. Tons of stuff to cover this week. Kieran, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I should start by saying that this episode is officially sponsored by Bubble, which is, as you probably know if you listen to the podcast at all, one of our favorite full stack visual development platforms. And we're very grateful to Bubble for sponsoring the podcast and also the conference. And Bubble has some pretty exciting news this week. In that they have released their mobile app editor or mobile app creator, which is part of the Bubble ecosystem. But before, where you could really only build web apps and kind of mobile apps to some extent by wrapping them in kind of a lengthy process, now they actually have a fully functional mobile app editor, which we, or rather you, James, have used extensively already to build the conference app. So yeah, I'd love to hear a bit about the process of doing that, because I know they launched yesterday on Product Hunt and it went really well. Got loads of positive comments and upvotes, and I think it's a game changer for Bubble developers, because you're always getting asked for mobile apps, and previously the answer was, well, we can make a responsive web app. We could potentially do a mobile app, but it's going to be a bit fiddly. But now you can just do it natively within Bubble and deploy it to the App Store, which is very exciting.
It really is, and it's not just a wrapped app as well. I think that's the thing to reiterate with it. It's not just like a website wrapped in a kind of a wrapper and put on the App Store. This is like proper rendering down to kind of proper React Native. Feels really good, like in terms of the transitions and the interactiveness. So yeah, we built the app for the Create With conference with it, and it was really amazing experience. I think we didn't really know whether we were going to have time to do it, because I think we only really floated the idea of doing it about a month before the conference, and we were like, we're going to have to do this ourselves. Can we really fit this in with everything else? But then I kind of played around with it a little bit, and I was like, wow, yeah, I within a day or two had like a very quick version of it up and running, which was super encouraging. And then we kind of realized, yeah, actually, we think this is actually quite an important part of the conference. Like, we want to put all the schedule on here, make sure it's really easy for people to find what they want, because there was so much stuff happening. There was like 40 sessions, so I think it was just going to be the best way of organizing what was happening on the day. And I did find myself kind of using it as a source of truth as well. But yeah, it was super quick process, really. Like, I think we had the app done within a week or two, and then it was another week of just going through all of the App Store admin, basically, for the iOS App Store and Google Play. So things like getting your dunnhumby number and signing up for the developer program and going through tons of paperwork and stuff, which, to be honest, probably took almost as long as building the actual app was the approval process. But yeah, once you kind of got through that, it was great. And super easy. So I really do recommend people checking it out. It's, finally, like, as a visual developer, you can actually build and ship really good apps onto the app stores. So yeah, definitely worth checking out.
And the crazy thing is that during the whole day of the conference, I think we had almost everyone that was there use the app, but I didn't get a single question from anyone saying, how do I log into the app, or this isn't working. I didn't get any. Normally events like that where there's an app, it's kind of half the time people are like, how do I use this, and stuff is going wrong. But it just seemed to work flawlessly, which is amazing. And it was your first ever one.
That was a relief, and especially as I built kind of a custom auth process for the app, because we didn't want people signing up and having to put a password in and all of that. So we built a custom login where basically you put your email in, sent you a 4-digit PIN number, and then you could get into the app. And that was about as quick as we thought we could kind of make it. So that was a real relief to get all of that working properly. But yeah, no, it went very smoothly. So it was a great experience. And I was just so impressed with the, considering it was still in beta, the mobile builder. It was just, it worked really well. Didn't really have any issues. Yeah, worked fantastically. And I mean, the other news that kind of came out yesterday with the official launch was the pricing. So we kind of now know, how much it's going to cost and how Bubble are going to charge for it. And actually, I thought I think it's very fair pricing. So we're looking at on the annual plan for web only. So if you just want to build the web app, it's $29 a month. If you want to just build a mobile app, it's $42 a month. And if you want web and mobile, which is what we had, it's $59 a month, which is pretty good. And then obviously you've still got the kind of issues with the workload unit utilization. So you still got to think about building it in an efficient way and maybe using third-party services if you need to for certain things, like we've talked about before. But as a baseline price, I think $59 a month to have an app that you can ship onto the iOS store, Android store, your website, the entire database to run it, the IDE, file storage. Like you add all that up, and I was like, that's not that bad actually. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, I think I give Bubble a round of applause for that because I think they've invested a lot into building that product. They had a lot of big team working on it, and I've kind of feel like they've delivered. So definitely worth checking out. And yeah, of course, you can download the Create With app if you want to see what it can do. You find it in both app stores if you just look for Create With. We're going to update it shortly because it's still all about the conference. But yeah, there'll be more stuff coming to that soon. So yeah, congrats to Bubble on that launch yesterday. There's a lot of work went into it, and yeah, just really excited to see it finally out and anyone able to use it.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a real buzz in all the Bubble chats I'm in from all the developers, and I think the added value of being able to have a mobile app is, yeah. I mean, if you've got a client and they ask for a mobile app, you're going to charge them way more money than just a web app because there's loads more complexities and loads more pain getting it onto the app store and stuff like that. So I think it just makes sense that they charge more for it, and it's still way less than the value you get. But I mean, I think people complaining about the price is a bit of a sign of kind of how commoditized and how many platforms there are that are purporting to offer this kind of stuff. And I think the expectations now, especially with vibe coding, that you can spin up a fully functional SaaS app in a few prompts and stuff, is, as we've talked about before, it's currently not realistic, I don't think, but it is there. And every time you see one of these tweets go viral where someone says, look what I did in just half an hour, and then everyone's like, oh, XYZ industry is dead because you can now do this. But I think the reality is that, if you want a maintainable, secure, scalable app, you can't take shortcuts really.
That's it. And I mean, I've been playing around with a few of the kind of AI app generators as well, just as I want to keep up to date with what's happening. So I tried, just as a fun little project, kind of along with the Bolt hackathon happening as well, I tried building a little kind of personal training app in Bolt for the iPhone. And I did, a couple of prompts, and I did get something fairly basic working. It wasn't hooked up to a database or anything. But yeah, I've got there, but then I kind of felt a bit of a frustration of, okay, now how do I really iterate on this and edit it? And I don't fully understand how this is working under the hood. And I think that is still, I think those platforms are going to get to that place where you can have the whole visual, this is what the app is actually doing. But I still think that's where Bubble at the moment is, it's very well placed. It doesn't have the AI generation full there yet to actually build the app, but it's got all the ingredients to do something really cool. But yeah, I was super impressed by what Bolt could generate as well. And Lovable's kind of next on my list to play around with. But what an exciting time that all these things exist. I mean, I don't think any of us would have even imagined this like
Yeah,
5 years ago.
I had a good experience with Lovable actually last week. I've got a friend who is an NHS nurse, and she manages a team, and she'd been asking my wife about, well, not asking, she'd been complaining about how she needed to make like some little app thing or tool just to calculate her staffing requirements for the week based on how many visits they had to do. And so my wife told me, and so I contacted her and was like, what do you need? And then she kind of told me, and I just asked her a few questions on like WhatsApp, pasted the conversation into Lovable, and it built a one-page app that did exactly what she needed, and the UI was exactly how she had described. It would be the easiest for her to input the things. Did the calculation. It was like, it's gonna save her, I don't know how much time it's gonna save her, like half an hour a week or something, which is, decent. And it took me like half an hour. She was like, how much money do you want for this? And I was like, oh no, it's free. I did it for fun. But I mean, the key thing was, I immediately said to her, do you need to put like staff names and sensitive data into this? Because if you do, I probably don't want to touch this project at all, because like it's NHS stuff and there's no way, like you're going to have to go through procurement and stuff. But she was like, no, it's just simple numbers. It's like a calculator on one page. No need to save any information or put in it sensitive stuff. So I was like, yeah, okay, perfect. Lovable vibe coding is perfect for that kind of thing. And then, yes, if she had said it's going to have like health information in it, then I would have panicked and being like, okay, well, suddenly the cost of this has gone from nothing to a lot of money. But yeah, for simple things like that, it's amazing. And I think she was like pretty blown away that I just did that in like half an hour on a Monday morning for free.
And I seem to remember reading recently that I think Lovable had integrated Superbase's like RLS policy, like, so it can actually secure the database for you now, like when it's doing it. So I think that was always a thing that you would kind of see come up, wasn't it? Like Lovable, and it's like, oh, there's no security on the database. But that, I think that is kind of resolved in some of the newer versions, that they can take care of that a bit more. And I think we're going to do some more, probably just basic stuff around Superbase as well, some tutorials on looking at the basic security on the database. So even if you are using Lovable or Bubble or whatever, if you're using Superbase with it, there's some simple things you can do to just go in and have a look at all of it. And it's got a great AI assistant built into it as well. So yeah, I think we'll definitely make something on that.
Yeah, no, well, that's very good to know. And yeah, I'm sure the platforms are all going to keep improving. And yeah, obviously security is super important. I watched George Collier's talk at the conference all about security, and he was explaining row level security, which is the kind of the ultimate security level, which means for any individual row in a database, so any one piece of data, you can define exactly who has access to that. And Bubble has the same thing, obviously, via its privacy rules, where you can have that kind of granularity of control. So yeah, it's good to know that they are starting to enforce it, because I think, that's the danger of all these new technologies, is that people get very excited, start taking like customer credit card details straight into their browser and then saving them in an unsecured database, and you never know. And I'm sure we're going to still see a ton of hastily built apps like that, but then you could do the same thing coding by hand, or with you could build a very insecure app in Bubble as well. It doesn't really force you to put in the security, but it is something that everyone needs to be on top of.
Definitely. I'm really excited to see George's video actually when it lands on our YouTube channel. That's going to be a must watch, I think, for anyone building with Bubble or any of these tools. I think it was quite broad, wasn't it, in how it was more the approach of how to think about securing stuff, which was really cool. So the next thing we were going to talk about was the big changes to the OpenAI pricing, which was just yesterday as well, I think, which was a bit out of the blue, which all these pricing updates seem to be from OpenAI. So the pricing on the kind of the flagship O3 model was dropped by 80%. So it's like a really massive cut. And I think it kind of opened up a ton more use cases, probably for building with that kind of more reasoning type model. And I think we've seen a lot of people say, like, even if you're building something right now and the AI cost seems prohibitive, kind of think a year ahead. And the trend with most of these models is that the price is going down. The other part of it, of course, was that they announced O3 Pro, which was the kind of new super top end benchmark maxing out version. But that is a lot more. So it looks like it's 10 times more expensive than O3. So where O3 is about $2 per 1 million input token, O3 Pro is $20. So it's a lot more expensive.
Wow.
And I've also been reading a lot of, I think OpenAI themselves also say that if you're using O3 Pro, you kind of have to plan that any requests that you make to it are going to take a long time. So like maybe 10, 20 minutes. Like it's really quite different in how it behaves to some of the other models where like with O3 or 4.0 or whatever, you would make the request and expect a return pretty quickly, really. With these new kind of mega thinking ones, you've got to think of a slightly different strategy where you maybe go and poll and get the response or handle it a bit differently. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting to see. Just dizzying trying to keep up with who's got the best model, the pricing on everything. It is constantly changing. Because probably last week we were talking about Gemini 2.5 and the latest version of that and how that was smashing all the benchmarks. But this week that we're kind of back on the merry-go-round and back to OpenAI being the top of the pile.
Well, I don't know how you keep up because I get really confused with all the different models. I'm pretty sure, like, a few weeks ago I was using 4.5 that was like research, the one that was good at writing. Then they got rid of that, and then I thought I was using like O1, and that was like doing loads of deep thinking and research. And then I feel like that's gone now, and now we're on O3, and maybe was there an O2, and now there's a 4.1. And I just get very confused about which I should be using for what. And the only explanation they have in the interface is like a tiny, like 5 words, which has like best for coding or something. And from what I've seen, like I put in, I had an issue with, I can't remember what I was trying to do, but it was, like a coding kind of issue, technical issue. And I put it into 4.0 and I put it into one of the other ones, which is supposed to be good at coding, and they both gave me completely different responses. One of the responses was more technical, but was fundamentally wrong. Like I could tell that it was wrong right from the start, just by thinking about the problem. It just went off down the wrong route. And then 4.0, which I use quite a lot, gave me the right answer, but in a less technical way, which is what I wanted. But it was exactly the same prompt. And I was thinking, like, I could have wasted hours if I'd just been using the one model, but because I compared them, I managed to find one that actually fixed the thing I needed. But it's quite stressful having to do that. It's quite annoying having to have all these models. Like ideally there'd be one master one that just picks the best model for the question you've asked and just goes off and uses it, or says, I'm going to get 3 different responses from 3 different models, and then I'm going to assess which one makes the most sense and give that to you. But I mean, I guess that is coming in the future, or that probably exists somewhere. But it is, for anyone who's not paying attention full time, it is quite frustrating. That's my rant.
It is definitely frustrating, and I think probably OpenAI would admit themselves that they are the absolute worst for naming stuff. They kind of joke about it all the time, but you've kind of got 4.0 and 0.4, and they're totally different, and they do different things. It's like, this is dreadful. It was really a nightmare to try and keep on top of what they are. But yeah, I mean, when I usually try and just look at the OpenAI models page and watch the demos. But even then, there are so many different models. I even saw that some employees at OpenAI, when they're testing the models, like they have these long, like no one really knows what the best model is at any moment in time, as they're all got these kind of cryptic names. So they all just log into ChatGPT and use like the public models, but it's like the naming is so confusing. But I guess it's kind of a sign of it just all moving so fast. And that actually ties in with some other news that we were going to talk about, that point that you just raised on getting completely different results from different AI models, even from the same company. So n8n announced interesting new feature to try and help with this. We've actually spoken a little bit about this on the podcast previously, about evaluations and how they work with AI and why they're so important. So the general idea is when you run a query on AI, like sometimes it can be quite unpredictable what response you're going to get back. Even running with the exact same inputs, like you might get different outputs. So n8n have added a new evaluation feature, and it kind of comes up at the top in the middle, so you can run workflows changing the AI models and seeing the differences in the output each time and tracking that. So yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. Because I think like evaluations are probably going to become way more important. There's, for that exact reason that you just said, because it's not always as simple as just swapping the model in your code. Or, you know, like, oh, there's a new model out, I'm going to swap to that and use it. Actually, it could break your whole app. Like you need kind of a predictable way of measuring the change in the model. So like if we're like recommending recipes for people, what are we getting a fairly consistent output between the two recipes, or is it noticeably better? Is it noticeably worse? Is it missing stuff off? Is it getting kind of capped? Like, are we running out of tokens on this one, or whatever it is? Like, so I thought that was a very cool thing from n8n. It's certainly something I think we've both been diving into n8n a lot more over the last few weeks. I've been learning the whole kind of RAG process of making these kind of your own trained AI. So maybe training your AI on a bunch of tweets or your Google Docs or stuff you've got in Notion, and then having these custom AIs. So I think we're going to have a tutorial out on that soon, because I think that's super, super interesting. And just, yeah, great to see so much innovation happening. And n8n in particular just is on a tear. It seems like there's new features every week. So yeah, I'm loving learning it. It's definitely complex, but I'm starting to see some of the payoff now of putting the time in to learn it, because yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, having seen what you've built is super impressive. I've been doing some very basic stuff because I've not used it that much before, but it does seem to give good results. Like the agent seems to, like, without too much hassle, go off and use the tools that you want it to use, and then come back with a good response. And the UI is better than some other automation tools I've used. It's still a bit technical. You do see small bits of code here and there, some JSON. You still need to figure out how to like aggregate stuff sometimes or split it out. It's just handling like the different data formats really. That's always the issue. So I would say it's definitely not as easy as Zapier in that respect. But yeah, it's pretty effective. The thing I built is just something that reads emails from my kids' school and then extracts any events that I need to put in my calendar, and then it puts them in the calendar. And yeah, it seems to be working really well. And I posted about it on LinkedIn, and it's like got the most engagement of any post I've ever done on LinkedIn. So I'm not sure if that's because it's n8n or because there's just loads of parents out there who have the same pain point. But yeah, quite a few people are like, oh, parents would pay for this. But the problem with something like n8n is you can't really monetize it in that way. You can transfer someone the template for your automation, but they still need to go through and authenticate all of their stuff, which is quite complicated if you're doing like Google Calendar and Gmail. And like, yeah, you don't want to just be connecting everyone's Gmail to your automation. That could be a nightmare. But yeah, so you can't really like monetize it, even if it's something that people really want, which is a shame. And that's why still, yeah, it's good to be able to build apps and things in Bubble and other platforms like that, because potentially I could build that into a tool that parents will pay for. But again, sounds complicated to do it if you've got to auth into their Gmail. Not really something I want to do. It just sounds a bit risky, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that isn't immediately clear about how n8n works, as well is that if you're self-hosting it, you have to go in and set up all those auth connections yourself. And yes, the documentation's amazing, but you have to be technical to do that. Whereas I think if you're using the cloud version, you can it kind of works a bit more like how Zapier works, where you just go and click I grant permission, and you don't have to put any like connection strings in or anything. So it does depend on what version you're using. I think I've been using the self-hosted one. So yeah, it's a lot of work to set up, but it is worth it. And I thought the other interesting n8n announcement this week that was relevant to that actually was their community nodes, that they're really pushing hard now. So what they are basically is nodes made by the community. So, for example, if there is a Firecrawl node, that means instead of having to go and set it all up manually, putting all the connection strings in and that, you can install this node for a ton of different services that are made by the community, and then you can just very easily connect it up. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I was looking at the chart of the number of community nodes, and it's kind of going up vertically. So there is a lot of buzz around n8n. And I mean, I've certainly seen there is some kind of clickbaity stuff around it as well, for sure. Like there is a lot of hype around n8n. And I'm usually super cautious about this kind of thing, like every week, there's, oh my God, this is the biggest thing ever, the biggest AI, it's mind blowing and all this kind of stuff. But I think n8n actually is worth investigating, particularly because of the AI agent node. I think that for me is the thing in it that's like, okay, wow, this is something different, and I can suddenly do tons of stuff. Yes, there's a learning curve, but it seems to be getting better and better. And we're going to try and make as much content as we can to help people learn it, because I think like we're getting a lot out of it ourselves now. Like now you kind of get through that difficult patch of, like you said, just simple stuff like splitting stuff out or merging things, and like this kind of thing that I took me a while to kind of get my head round, but now I have. It's like, okay, I'm starting to build some very cool stuff. So yeah, keep an eye out for some tutorials and content from us around n8n, because I think we're both loving it. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I think the first thing to cover is like, how to get yourself on a self-hosted version, because I think if you're using the cloud version, although it is easier to auth yourself into like your Gmail and stuff like that, the cost structure is completely different. Like you are still paying per action, I think. And yeah, I was watching a tutorial the other day, and they pointed out like if you have something that's like polling your Google account every minute throughout the day, you'll use like 1440 actions a day, and so you'll immediately, a day and a half later, you'll have rinsed all your like basic credits. Whereas if you're on the self-hosted version, you don't have that charge at all. So I think you have unlimited actions. Is that right? Which is unbelievable. Yeah. So you could have it polling your Gmail account every minute, and forever, and it wouldn't matter. So that is just a huge difference, isn't it, in terms of what you can build.
It's massive. Yeah, I think on the cloud version, I think as well, you could only have 5 workflows enabled on the cheapest plan at one time. And yeah, on the self-hosted version, I had a fantastic tip from George Collier actually about hosting it using Elestio. I tried a couple of the other options like Railway and that, but I didn't really want to get into like doing stuff in the terminal every week to update it and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Elestio is just deploys it for you, sets it up, and it's basically like a SaaS. It updates itself every week. I haven't looked at it. And yeah, for the conference, we had an instance running on $10 a month, and I think it did something like 10,000 runs in the month for doing various things about ticketing. So it was like keeping our tickets up to date, refreshing every minute. And it was all done on a $10 a month instance. It wasn't no problem. So I think that is probably a big reason of why so many people are interested in n8n, is because you can self-host it relatively easily without being technical, and it's insanely cheap if you're willing to put the work in of connecting it up yourself. That's the caveat, I think, for the self-hosted one, but it's not impossible. Like if you've got a bit, if you use Bubble, the API connector, I think you could get your head around it relatively quickly, and the docs are great. So yeah, very, very bullish on n8n, and lots more content coming on that, which is really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Automation.
And do you want to give us a little update on Typoro and bits and pieces you've been working on?
Yeah, I thought it'd be nice to go back to doing some little updates on the other stuff we're working on. So Typoro, which is the LinkedIn writing and scheduling tool, it's not going like a rocket ship, but we have built a solid product. And we're pretty confident about the product, and compared to the other similar products in the market, ours has more features, gives better results, I think. And a few other people have told us that as well. So the challenge we're having now is getting people to convert from the free plan to the paid plan. So we're trying to figure out like some changes to the pricing, changes to the onboarding, to give people a few more options in terms of like, do they want to connect their LinkedIn, or maybe they don't want to connect their LinkedIn and they just want to use it as a writing tool, in which case we want to give them that option. And also, do they want to like train it to write in their own style, or are they happy to use our prompts? So yeah, we're going to add in those things, and then I think we have kind of decided we're going to try a lifetime deal, which is, you know, a bit of a controversial thing for a SaaS, but we think it could work. We've seen some other examples of similar things working really well. So yeah, that's the news on Typoro. And then for my other project, AutoClips, which is the AI TikTok video generator, unfortunately, I think we might actually shut that down, because a few weeks ago we got our account banned on Lemon Squeezy, and they only gave us a few days to sort it out, and then they were like, we're shutting your account down. And the reason was we'd had, I think, 2 people had like disputed their payment. And because we only had about 80 payments total, that took it to, you know, it was 1.8% or something. And they said that's above the threshold for being a high risk vendor. And because they're a merchant record, I think they have to be very careful about the vendors that are on their platform. So they're probably a lot stricter than other platforms are. Because I thought, you know, yes, it's like 2%, but there's not really enough data there to say that we're risky, because we've only had two disputes. But I guess they just play it safe. So we had to like migrate over to Stripe in a couple of days, that was just before the conference. So that was like not what I needed. But yeah, it's a difficult market. We still get loads of people signing up, but a lot of payments seem to just bounce. Like there's a lot of people that seem to have cards that just either don't have money in their account, or they somehow create a virtual card and then make sure it has no money, and they sign up to all these SaaS services, and then the payments bounce. So it's been a bit frustrating, because I think like in terms of the product, it works pretty well, pretty smoothly. But yeah, if anyone out there is interested in like acquiring it from us, please let me know, because it's a fully functional product that I have running at the moment, making an automated TikTok account on entrepreneurship for kids, and every day a new video comes out, and I don't ever have to log in or do anything, and I go on my TikTok, and yeah, each video is getting like 800 views or something. So it does work. But yeah, it's probably a good thing for me to have like one less project to focus on. But yeah, that's what's going on over here. How are things with UserLoop?
Yes, very similar actually. I think I was probably a bit out of it with the conference as well, in terms of being less focused on it, but it's still been operating great. I did do a bit of an update to pricing about 2 months ago, kind of a simplification, which has gone pretty well. And now I'm really kind of thinking about pivoting the entire messaging of the product to really to be an AI agent for customer feedback. So there's a few product bits that I'm working on to make that happen. I mean, one thing that I've just started trialing this week that I've had amazing feedback from merchants is generating basically insight PowerPoint decks based on all their survey responses. So using an AI, putting in all their survey responses into an AI agent and getting a polished kind of deck about all what everyone said in their surveys, which has been great. So I'm kind of thinking of ways I can productize that at the moment, because it's still a bit of a manual process right now to do them, but I've had such positive feedback from them. I think that's going to be worth pursuing. And then, yeah, on the actual surveying side of it, pivoting it more to be automatic in how it's surveying. So like I basically want people to sign up, choose AI agent mode, and then that's it. It's done. It will automatically send the right survey to the right person without you having to set anything up, basically. So yeah, that is my current kind of focus with it. And the other side of it kind of loops in with what we've been talking about with n8n. So I'm just trying to do as much as I can to automate the operations of it. So like we were talking about with self-driving startups, all that kind of stuff. What can I possibly do with n8n and AI agents to take over the stuff that I'm useless at or I don't like doing? So I'm trying to push the boundaries with that as well to help me with running it. Because yeah, I kind of like, as a solo founder, you're trying to do everything. So yeah, trying to get it to help me a bit more with that. But yeah, no, all good, but ticking along. But yeah, kind of getting back into the swing of the things now that the conference is over.
I mean, I think it's such a huge advantage that, like, if you think of all the other companies out there that are competitors of UserLoop, how many of them are going to be like this into AI and learning about all this stuff and then able to just implement like new features, automations as quickly and as thoroughly as you are? Like, they will all have teams of executives, teams of developers. There will be lots of meetings. I mean, most developers I know are not really using AI for anything other than just like helping them write code. They're not actually looking at agents and the other features you can add on. Like, I think it's just quite unusual to have a founder that is so switched on to this stuff. And that means that UserLoop is going to just get all this new stuff like as it's coming out, which is just crazy. Like, I can't imagine many other SaaS products are going to have AI agent mode within the next like 5 years, because they just won't even think of it. So that's like, it's just such a good, interesting case study of like what you can do if the founder is actually into all this technology and able to move fast. Very exciting.
Yeah, and it's a great excuse to test out new stuff as well. Like, you know, kind of how I got into Cloudflare Workers. I was like, oh, this is interesting, and suddenly realized, oh my god, yeah, I can do loads more with this. So it's also kind of just a good opportunity to try new stuff, which is really exciting. So yeah, lots of stuff happening. So there are a couple of announcements coming up as well. I think it's next week now, isn't it? There is our next international Create With meetup, which I think you're going to be at, aren't you, Kieran? So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so on Thursday, the 19th of June, we are having a Create With meetup, our second international one, and it's going to be in Barcelona at between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. We're going to have 2 speakers still to be confirmed, but they are going to be people talking about cool projects or products they've built. We're using AI and visual development tools and automations. There'll be some like hands-on learning and yeah, lots of meeting interesting people. So if you are in Barcelona next week, please come along. It'd be great to meet you. And yeah, it's going to be exciting to be out out there, out of the country, and meeting people in the community. I know there's loads of people actually in these kind of industries that already live in Barcelona, and I think a few of them are coming, like people from Typeform and things like that. So yeah, it's going to be a good crowd and a good excuse just to nerd out about all the stuff we're working on.
Awesome. And people can find out and get their ticket at createwith.com, or they can find us on Twitter at createwithhq, and there'll be all the info there to get onto Luma and get your ticket for that. So yeah, don't miss out on that. We're also going to record a podcast from Barcelona as well. I think I'm going to be in Crete at the Bubble House this year, which is next week too. So I'm really excited about that. We're going to record a few bits and pieces from there, hopefully. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up, and we got some other exciting Create With announcements coming up as well. The main one, actually, we kind of had a bit of a teaser out for already, is our retreats, which we started kind of teasing on Twitter recently. So, Kieran, do you maybe want to give people a little bit of an idea about what the Create With retreats are all about?
Yeah, so it's been something we've been talking about for a while, the idea of some kind of unconference, an in-person event overseas, somewhere pleasing to the eye. Either the options we put out there were mountains, forest, or beach location. And it will be with a kind of a small and fairly exclusive number of makers, creators, automators, business folks, people who want to learn about this stuff. And there will be a lot of kind of workshops, hands-on learning experiences. And it's a bit of a cross between kind of co-working and a hackathon and a learning experience. And they're going to be, around 4 days long. So if anyone is interested in joining one of those, we put a wait list up on our website. I think it's createwith.com/retreats. So go there, add your name to the wait list, tell us which one you'd prefer, which location you'd prefer. And yeah, we're gonna make it happen, because I think it's just a really cool way to learn things and to get motivated and do something in a very short amount of time, but in a very lovely location. And yeah, you go to these kind of things and you come away with lifelong friends, which is, that's worth its weight in gold anyway. So I'm really looking forward to doing as many of these as we can.
For sure. Really, really excited about those. Can't wait to see where the first one's going to be. We're going to be announcing that quite soon, I think. So yeah, keep your eye on that and head to createwith.com/retreats to get onto the list and be the first in the know about what's going to happen. So I think that's it for this week. So thank you once again to Bubble for sponsoring this episode. We really, really appreciate it. And definitely go and check out the new Bubble for Native Mobile app builder. You'll be quite shocked with what you're able to build in a matter of days or hours, depending on how experienced you are in Bubble. So definitely check that out. And yeah, we're going to be back next week. But that's it for now. If you want to find out any more, you can find us on X at createwithhq, or createwith.com is the hub for everything. That's it for this week. So thanks so much, Kieran.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
And we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.